Today, I'm going to contradict one of the primary tenets of early pickup theory, and that is the idea of Kino, the idea of getting physical with a girl, touching a girl. Now, obviously, you do have to touch a girl in pickup, in game at some point, because it's very hard to have sex with a girl without, touching her. So at some point, there does have to be physicality. But the idea that physicality is always better than no physicality, or the idea that you want to be doing little physical moves throughout, is somewhat good and somewhat bad, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. In order to understand this concept and where it comes from, you need to understand where the whole pickup community comes from, and understand that it started out in around 1998, 1999, with a lot of guys sitting on their computers discussing ideas, and these were the early adopters of the internet and chat forums, learning how to get girls. So they inherently were introverted, shy, didn't take a lot of risks, that sort of stuff. So a lot of pickup advice and pickup theory is designed to get you out of your head and talking, get you touching girls, get you taking risks, because that's what most of the guys early on in the pickup community were missing. There's a lot of guys that actually go too far the other way. They touch a girl too much, they're too overt and forward, and the girl, there's no suspense for the girl. She knows, I can fuck this guy, all this guy wants is get in my pants, and that can be off-putting as well. So there's sort of two levels of error you can have in game. One level of error is I don't escalate enough. The other one is I escalate blatantly or badly. And what ended up happening, I think, over time in the pickup community is what was intended to help the guys that don't escalate enough just got applied as though it was a general rule, as though it was good for everybody. And people in general started over-escalating and escalating badly. This is why if you go out, a lot of times you can pick out the pickup guy because he's the guy that's making the girls uncomfortable. Right? A lot of pickup guys over-escalate. They're very touchy, very grabby. There's it's very clear that something's going on in that interaction. And that's because they were taught to do Kino. The idea of doing Kino specifically is this idea that in a conversation, you should just start touching a girl in some way and then touch a little more, touch a little more. And for me, this was a huge lesson, actually. When I first started out in game, I had never kissed a girl, never had a girlfriend, never held hands with a girl. And so I'd be out with a girl on a date, and I'd have to muster my nerves and take a deep breath and get my confidence together just to touch her on the elbow. So at that point, doing Kino was the best thing I could possibly do in my game. It was the necessary piece that was missing because I'd talked to girls my whole life, but I hadn't been man to woman. And doing Kino made it man to woman, right? However, touching a girl is a form of escalation. It's a form of conveying agenda, and it takes away some of the suspense. Every time that you are being more grabby with a girl, more touchy with a girl, she knows more and more that she can sleep with you. And what this means is she may, in the end, the vibe is good enough, she gives in to having sex with you, but she's never going to be sitting there wondering, will this guy have sex with me? Can I have him? So because she doesn't have that nervousness, she's not going to be chasing. Okay, so if you want to get to that advanced level where a girl's chasing you, a lot of times it's actually better to withhold touch, all right? And again, remember, the reason for touch in the first place was to convey man to woman. So if you're already conveying enough man to woman in other ways, oftentimes not touching is good enough. The way I equate this is it's like if you see a scrawny, wimpy guy and you might want to pick on him, you'd be like, oh, this guy can't fight. And he might have to fight a couple times to show you to fuck off, right? So they're like, hey, I can fight, step off, right? But a guy that looks like Vin Diesel or whatever, if you saw him walking down the street, you wouldn't go test and see, oh, I bet this guy can't fight, right? There's certain guys and certain behaviors where you just know they got it, right? And as you get to even an intermediate level of game, when you're getting to the point where you're already comfortable talking to girls, you can hold eye contact, you don't mind saying some objectionable things from time to time, you know how to flirt and push-pull a little bit. Once you're at that level, it's oozing out of your pores already that you are man to woman, that you are a type of guy that can get physical. And once she knows you can, ironically, you don't have to nearly as much. And so what I see is a lot of guys that are intermediate or even bordering on advanced, and they learned pickup through the pickup community. They learned do Kino, get physical. And what's the problem in their game now is they get too physical, and they're too obvious, and the girl knows they can have them. Whereas if they were to just sit back and chill and be a little more normal in the conversation, keep a little more tension, right? Tension is that mystery of the girl not knowing if she can have you. If you keep a little bit more of that sexual tension instead of just being sexually aggressive and overt, you're actually going to get the girl chasing much, much, much more. You get much better results. You're also going to get far less last-minute resistance, right? Again, you want to convey enough that she knows you can and will touch her, knows that you are comfortable with it, but you don't want to be grabby or gropey. You don't want to be overdoing it. So what I like to say in my personal game is, if this is 0 and this is everything I could get away with physically, I want to be at around 70, 75%, right? I don't want to be up here at 90, 98%. where like it's just like right on the borderline and every time I touch the girl, she's uncomfortable. I want the girl to actually be more uncomfortable with the fact that I haven't touched her and wondering if I'm going to than with any touch that I'm doing. And that way the entire escalation process is super smooth. And again, this is one of the keys for advanced game. So if you're new to game and you're scared of touching girls, by all means, go touch them. Do Kino, get used to it, realize that touching them is not a big deal. But if you are getting consistent results, you're getting a lot of phone numbers, you're getting dates, you're getting laid every now and again, that sort of thing, you may want to experiment with backing up on the touch a little bit and only doing it when it's emotionally relevant, only doing it when you actually really want to touch the girl. There's a great phrasing game, they say boners, not Kino. You want to be doing the type of touching where it's actually emotionally arousing, and then during the other parts, let there be no touch. By there not being touched throughout most of the interaction, the times you do touch, it'll actually make a bigger impact. All right, so take that information. If you're new, go ahead, touch the girls a lot. If you're intermediate or advanced, experiment with backing off, keeping more sexual attention, and touching the girls a little less.